What's up, everybody? This is Spare With a Gun. Back on our FTB server. I think today this is going to be a How to Train Your Turtle episode, I think, for the weekend. I want to do a couple of things. First off, let me see where my turtles are, because open. I think the last episode. Is he still digging? Wait. Load stuff. Load world. I'm gonna get rain. Getting rain in my room. Where? See, this I don't get. I have a chunk loader. Oh, there he is. Is he still going? Yeah, he's still going. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of messed up because I have it set up for 32. Stupid spider. So that turtle right there, Raph, has the open wall script that I mentioned in one of our previous LP episodes, where I have actually fixed it to where it works and everything. I was going to show you that, but he's busy getting rid of this chunk of wall right there. I'm actually not running the open wall on that particular set. I'm actually doing just the excavate. And what happened? Whoa! Whoa! What the heck? Enderman. I bet you an Enderman moved. He did. Stupid Enderman. Well, I'm just gonna borrow this. I hate Enderman so much. I had this here for when. Actually, you know what? I don't really need this here anymore. I had this here for filling in the marshlands that I broke with my force field, but I don't really need it anymore, so just get rid of it. But today I do want to show you. I made a new script actually for I love it. I have this efficiency 5 pick, so it ends up almost working like a chainsaw. No, it's not supposed to. I have, if I can find Leonardo, I forgot where I put him. I think he's back in my house. I made a script for all this because I did not want to do this by hand. Oh, I missed cows from the pranking. Dang it. Yeah, I'll show you. This is why the Zephyr Sword is awesome. Boom. All gone. All fixed. Love it. Yeah, I got a bunch of crap that I'm carrying around with me. But yeah, I didn't want to... And you have to have this filled in, because eventually I'm going to do construction foam for my floors, I think. And scaffolding will only go like 1 block out or something with nothing under it. So you have to make sure that there's something under it in order to do the whole floor. But I did not want to fill this in by hand. So I wrote a script for it, and I'll show you that real quick. And then probably... Where am I picking up all these torches from? Oh, it must have been the water. Yeah, that's what it was. So basically, I'm thinking I'll show doors. Doors and doorways just are evil in this game. If I can find Leonardo, wherever I put him. Where did I put him? I'm pretty sure I picked him up. Maybe. Maybe not. No. I think he might still be out here. Is he here? No. Is he here? No. Oh, I think I set him up over here. Did I set him up over here? In the spot where the world won't load? He's probably right over there. Dang it. Let me go over here. This is the only way I know to fix this. My base here that I've excavated is so large that it unloads half of it when you're on the other side of it, so I come over here, and then this side usually unloads, and then when I come back, cross your fingers, lag, frame rate, oh, so bad, so bad. Yeah, there we go. And he is not here. I don't think. Dude, where did I put him? I might just have to move on to the sorting room. I can't find him. I have no idea what I did with him. I have 2 of them on the charging unit, but that's not him. Oh, I know where to put him. Put him up here. Yep, right there. Okay. Yeah, he's got a lot of scripts. Which one was it? Fill floor. There it is. So let's go over this real quick. This is pretty simple. I cleaned it up pretty decently. These are basically all of your variables. You've got your regular arguments with height. This is whether or not you picked up a light. I'll go into that in a minute. What direction, how many spaces away from the light, and whether you're empty. Width and height is coming from this argument table, so you'll end up doing something like fill floor 5, 6, and that would be a width of 5 blocks and a height of 6 blocks long. It could be length too, width and length, but you know, whatever. Doesn't really matter as long as the turtle knows what he's doing. Okay, so my shift function here is basically checking. You put cobblestone, or whatever block you wish to use to fill in the floor with. You'll basically do this slot up to this one. You have to leave one space open so that he'll pick up torches and stuff, but you can fill 15 slots with whatever kind of item you want to fill. What this script, or this function here does, is when this one gets down to 1, it'll check up through these, and if it finds more of the same block here, it switches them out and puts the full stack here and puts the other one, the 1 block, wherever it was left. So that way you don't have to keep constantly changing the slots and all that. You can just tell it to keep selected on the first one and go through. So basically it checks to see if it's empty. Well, no, actually this is to store the results. So empty is false. It selects the first slot. It runs the item count of the first slot. So if it's less than or equal to 1, then you run through the rest of the function, which you'll run through a loop here of this is the 2nd slot through the 16th slot, which you really don't need the 16th, but I do it anyway just as a precaution because you've already got this compare statement. And what this is going to do is it'll compare whatever slot you designate here to the currently selected slot. So if you'll notice, up here I manually set it to 1. So 1 is the selected slot, so when it gets to 2, because this is 2, it'll compare 2 to 1 because 1 is selected. And then if it's equal to true, meaning this is the same thing as what's in slot 1, then it selects this next slot that has more of the item, and then it transfers it to slot 1. So the arguments here are the slot numbers. Transfer will take, and you have to kind of understand these statements, like compare will take the argument slot and compare it to the currently selected, but transfer is the opposite. Transfer will take the whatever you have in the currently selected slot and transfer it to whatever slot is in the arguments. So that's why we changed this here. So you compare whatever slot the loop is on to the first one, and if it's equal to true, then you switch slots so that then when you transfer, you can specify you want to transfer to 1 from wherever you found more items, and then you go back to slot 1 so that the rest of your functions will be able to just call place or whatever, and then you make sure that empty is false, and then because you found more, so it's obviously not empty. And then you break this loop because you don't need to go any further because you just filled in slot 1 with more items. and that will save you some time that it doesn't have to run through 16 slots every time if it finds some in 2 or 3 or whatever. Otherwise, if compare is not equal to true, so whatever's in the current slot that you're testing against in the loop is not equal, or is not the same thing as what's in slot 1. So this will also happen if there's nothing there. So if you go to slot 2 and tell it to compare and there's nothing in it, it will return false to whatever's in 1 because 1 has something there. So this also, it's basically if it's not whatever you're wanting your floor to be, or it's empty. So if it's a light or something that, you know, a mob drop or something that it just randomly picked up, and then it's also not, or if it's empty, it'll still come back false. So the only way it comes back true is if it's the same item that's what's in the slot 1. And we set empty to true so that while this keeps looping, it'll stay true until it finds a slot that has something of the same type, if that makes sense. So basically, the simple version is it's going to check for more of the same, let's say cobble, because more of the same is just getting confusing. So cobble is what we're using to build the floor. So this is going to run through and compare all these slots. If it finds cobble, it'll move it to the first slot. If it doesn't find cobble, because it's something else or it's empty, it returns false. When it returns false, then this condition doesn't happen, so it goes to empty equals true, meaning you don't have any more floor blocks. Then if it goes to, it's going to stay that way until the next loop. If the next loop it goes to 3, it's also empty or not the same thing, it's going to stay true. But if, say, in slot 4, it does find something like cobble, then it will come back and set it to false. So basically, this is set up so that if you get to the end here and it hasn't found any more floor blocks that you want to use, then it's saying that you're empty and it's out. But this is also set up in place so that these two might be something else or might be empty, but then down here you might find more cobble, and then it'll switch it back saying that you're not empty, and I put more back in this slot. And then it returns the empty. So basically whenever you call the shift function here, if it can find more of the item that's in slot 1, say cobble, it will move whatever it found to slot 1, and then it'll return false. If it goes through all these 16 slots and can't find more of this item, then it will come back true saying that you're empty. So I did that so that we can use this for some other stuff for comparisons to tell where we're at in the function. This is just a simple U-turn thing. If I need him to turn him around, I usually put this in most of my scripts. I don't always need it. For example, I don't think I actually use this in this script at all. So I could probably take that out. What did I use this for? Some of this I wrote outside of Computercraft and FTB. I was in a Notepad++, so it got a little unorganized and doesn't look as pretty because the actual it looked fine in the editor that I was using. I think it was Notepad++, but it doesn't look like it stays the same for this. So I'm trying to clean this up a little bit so it's easier to read, because there's nothing harder to make sense of than code that's not like in the right situation or setup. Wait, what? Okay, I think this was set up to find, what is this? Local result equals false. Select one if true. Okay. This is if you come across a light, like a torch or a wrath lamp or something like that. What this is going to do is it sets the return value of result to false just by default. And then it says if light space, L space, is equal to 1, then it runs through this stuff, which says you select slot 1, and then you go through 1 through 16, checking to see if something is not equal to slot 1. Okay? So you're looking for the opposite of whatever's in slot 1, basically, or anything but this. So if you've got this all full of cobble, you don't want any of these slots, you know. And then if it returns false, then you select that slot and tell it result equals true, and you break the loop. Basically, you found the light, the torch, or whatever, which is most likely going to be in this slot. And then otherwise, you return false, and the loop keeps going until it runs out of slots. You also then set L space to 0, and then return the result. So you're basically... Oh, and if L space is not equal to 1, then you set it to 1 and it runs it the next time. And then return result, and then end. So this is a supplementary function that's going to be used in another function. So it's going to be... Like, this doesn't look like it does anything. It just returns whatever, but it's going to when we use it in the replace function, which is right here. Oh, I do use UE. Okay. So if find equals true, which we already looked at up here. Oh, and the L space is set up because of the way the function works for picking up the torches, that if you pick up a torch, then you're standing, the turtle's sitting on the block that it's supposed to be on. So I had this set up so that basically it wouldn't get interfered with, like it would go 2 blocks and then turn around and place it back where it was. So, because I had, when I first did this without the L space criteria here, it ended up giving me some weird stuff where it shifted all of my lights back by 1 because it was just picking them up, turning around, and placing them down, so it was like skipping 2 squares. So I set this up so that it would skip a block after it found an item, in essence, so that then it would actually move to the next block, turn around, place it, and keep going. So, so here we have if find equals true, as in it found an item that's not cobble, which is usually going to be the... I don't have anything set up for the suck command, which, even if there's items on the ground, it has to have the suck command to pull it up. The only other way that it gets items is by digging, and I have that covered. So it's not going to pick up anything other than what it digs, and the only things that it should be digging when you run this script is you should have already cleared out the area, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to run into lights. That is a criteria for using this script, is the only thing that it's supposed to run into is a light source or something that you want to turn around and place back. Yeah, like it could be anything. It could be a wood plank. It doesn't matter. The turtle doesn't care. But it has to be like something that you want to turn around and place back, basically. But I suppose if it picked up a zombie flesh or something and just turned around and dropped it on the ground again, it really wouldn't be a big deal. But the design of the script is so that it'll replace lights. But so basically, if it found a light, or if it found anything other than cobble, the last time it digged, then it makes a UE. It places... if you'll notice up here in the find command, if it finds something that's not equal to cobble, then it selects that slot. So once it runs find and find returns true, then it's basically going to be selected on that slot that has a torch in it or whatever. So it's gonna turn around, then it's gonna place it back, and then it's going to reset back to slot 1 where the cobble is, and then it's going to turn back around and it's going to set light to false, meaning it does not have a light anymore. This is also a supplementary script, so it's kind of a triple nested script, if you will, if that makes any sense. So here's the nitty-gritty. Here's the complex part. So basically, we have x equal to 1, so it's on the first block, and then while it's less than width. So it's going to keep iterating until it's equal to the width that you specified, and the same with height. It's going to keep iterating until it's equal to height. Now this is a nested for loop, which I don't think we've really talked about before, and basically what this is going to do is x is equal to 1 until it equals, or till it's greater than width. So whatever's inside here is going to run that many times. But if you nest it like this, so y is equal to 1 until it, and then it's going to iterate until it equals or is greater than height. So say you have a height of 5. This is anything inside this loop, the while loop, is going to run 5 times, and then it's going to pull back out into the x one and increase this by 1. So this is how you get, when you specify a width and a height, it's going to go up 1 line, turn around, now x is on the second line, and then it's going to go down y all over again, and so on and so forth. So this is how you kind of can keep it doing a grid. So basically what it's doing is if the turtle detects down and it doesn't see anything, so the floor is empty underneath it, then the result of shift, so basically you're going to shift everything, make sure you've got cobble in this slot, and then it's going to return the result into empty. So if empty is equal to false, then basically saying that you have items, then it's going to place something down because it said that there wasn't anything there. Otherwise, it's going to tell you it needs to be refilled. Now this is another loop that says while empty is true, so while you have no cobble in here, there's still one here so that it knows what to compare all these slots to, but it can't use that one according to how I set the script up. So it's going to keep looking for more cobble until you put it in here, and it's going to check every 15 seconds. And then it's going to try and shift again any items that are equal to cobble or whatever and return the result. So while empty is equal to true, it's going to check every 15 seconds and then try and shift again. When you put more in here, it's going to shift again, realize there is more, and then empty will end up being false because of the way the shift function is set up, and then it'll end this loop. And then when it's done, it'll print resuming. And because this screwed me up for a while, because this is part of the else and not the if, there was no place down command, so it was skipping a block when it would resume. So you make sure you have a place down after it gets more cobble so that it basically does what this one would have done. And in this way it won't lose its spot, because I kept having to reset it, because obviously you can't hold more than 16 or 15 blocks of 64 in here. And so when I was doing my underground base that's really big, it kept running out, and I kept having to set the turtle back up and recount everything so that I knew how much more it had to do. And I figured I'd add this in here so that it would just pause and wait for you to put more in, and then when you put more in, it would just keep going, and it doesn't break it knows where it's still at. And this says if y is still less than height, then if the turtle detects something in front of it, then it will dig it or pick it up. And when it picks it up, like I said, it sets light equal to true, which then tells it that it has a light in its inventory that you need to replace. And then the reason this is here is because when it gets to the last one where it is equal to height, I don't want it to dig out the block in front of it, which it'll always detect because there will be a wall that it runs into. Again, the turtle doesn't know what it's digging, so if it sees something before it hits the height level, then it's a light in the middle of the floor. But if it's equal to the height level, then like this, it would dig, 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 and then it would hit the wall here. But because it's at the wall, the height is, y is equal to height here, so it still needs to place a block, but it's going to see something here and it's going to dig it up, so you'd end up missing a whole line in your wall as this goes. So that part's important to have there. Also, while it's not equal to the height, it says while turtle forward is false, this means something's in its way. Now, if you'll notice, I have the detect command up here already, so if this were to return false, it means there's no block in front of it. Torches, wood, cobble, anything. There's no solid block in front of it that it can dig, aka it's a mob or a player or something along that lines. So if this is already said, well, if there's something there, I'll dig it up. If not, I'll move on. then you've basically exempt the possibility that there's a block in front of it. But if forward returns false, it still means it can't move. Now this is very important, you put a turtle attack command and then you tell it to sleep 1 and then it's going to try to move forward again. The reason this sequence of code is so important is because if you don't do this and a mob or something gets in front of it and stops it, the turtle still thinks it's moving forward. So it will keep iterating where the X and Y coordinates are, and it'll essentially screw up your whole floor because, well, I mean, it won't actually screw up your floor that it can't. The detect commands will keep it from placing extra blocks, but they won't be, okay, as an example, if you had 2 by 3 here, so 2 width, 3 height, and it's going along, okay, place one here, and then it gets a zombie in front of it here, and it can't move, but you don't have that attack script set up to where it'll do something while it keeps trying to go forward, then basically it's going to say, oh, okay, I'm just going to iterate Y again because I got to the end of my sequence because there's nothing here there's no script in place for if I can't move, so I'm just going to iterate anyway. And now it's thinking, instead of this being Y equal to 3, it's seeing this equals to 3. But if you'll notice, this is 1, 2. So this is only going to be a 2 by 2 where you needed a 2 by 3. And then it's going to keep doing this, and then it would go through its next one. So this is important to keep the coordinates all intact. One thing to note, though, is because this is a mining turtle, it won't actually attack anything in front of it. It has the command, and it might actually take a swing at it. I don't know, but it won't hurt it. I've never... Well, I can't say that. It's funky. It sometimes will hurt them, sometimes it just kind of stands there and looks at them, and you might have to push something out of its way, or whatever. But this, if nothing else, it keeps it from losing its place in the coordinates that you've set up. So even if it stalls until you move something out of its way, it's still going to keep moving. It's still going to be on track and know where it is. Then we have, again, this is still under the sequence of if Y is still less than the height limit that you set for the script. So if it's still not up against the wall, and this comes down to where light equals true. So if you dug it up and light equals true, then it calls replace. So that's how it knows. See up here, if the turtle felt or sees something in front of it, it digs it and then sets it to true, and then when it gets down here, you've already moved it forward 1 block, so now if it has a light in its inventory, it'll replace it, which if we follow our loop sequence, then it tells it to find it in your inventory, and then we'll come back up here. So then it's going to run through its inventory and compare everything that's not cobble, which is usually just this last slot if you filled the whole thing up. And then it's going to find it, select this slot, say result is true, break the loop, and then it's going to set the L space or light space to 0 and then return. Otherwise, it's going to set L space to 1. So what this does is it makes sure that it moves forward 1 block and then turns around and places it, and then it comes out of this thing. So if find equals true, then it pulls a UE, it places it, it resets to the cobble, turns back around, sets the light to false, saying I don't have a light in my inventory anymore, and then it continues. So this is 1 loop, and then when it gets down here to the end of that, okay, so this right here, this line, is the end of the Y loop. So now you set your turtle up, it's run all the way to the wall or to the end of where you want your floor to be, so now it continues with the X sequence, or what's left to do before you increment X. So what's going to happen here, man, this is just gotten all jumbled up. So what's going to happen here is, again, if X is still less than the width, so again, you're not up against the wall this way, what's going to happen, this is a little tricky. This is a little more, this is creative programming a little bit here. What this is doing is dir is my variable for direction. Okay, now direction is going to equal the current x coordinate, so where it is horizontally, and then it's going to do this is modulation, which for those of you that don't know, it's division that then returns the remainder, just the remainder. So if you divide 2 by 2, or no, excuse me, if you divide 2 by 4, okay, or 4 by 2, 4 by 2, 2 will go into 4 twice. 2 times 2 equals 4, so when you divide 4, you get 2. But there's no remainder, because it's even, so it comes out with a remainder of 0. So modulation is where it's going to divide x by 2, and then return the remainder and assign it to direction. Okay? Now, what this is actually used for is when you're dividing by 2, it's basically checking for an even number, is what that's going to do. What this is for is it's going to either return 0 or 1, basically, because it's 2, so there can't be a whole lot of remainders. It's not like going to be 0.78543, whatever. You know, it's going to be 0 or 1. And that allows you to basically say left or right, depending on if it's an even number. For example, if x is equal to 1 when I start the turtle, right here, okay, when it gets to the end, x is going to divide by 2 and return the remainder, which 1 divided by 2 will return a remainder of 1, I believe, because, or something other than 0. That's the key. It's not 1 or 0, it's just something other than 0. So it'll be a point, decimal point, something, or it doesn't matter. It's not 0, which only even numbers will return 0. So when it gets here, it'll see that it's not an even number, so then it needs to turn right. Okay? Now, when you're over on here, x will equal to 2, so it'll be going this way. Now, when it gets over here, 2 divided by 2 will return a remainder of 0 because it's an even number. So then it should turn left. Okay? And then you're going to go here, 3 is an odd number, it's not going to return 0, so you need to turn right. So you can see how this works. It's a tricky, creative little way to determine whether you need to go right or left. It's a way to alternate, and not just right or left. You can use it for any kind of alternation. For turtles where they've moved a certain number of spaces to one side or another, you know, you can use it to alternate every other thing. And you can see here the next line is if dir is not equal to 0, then the turtle turns right. So any odd number, so every other odd number thingy, or no, every other coordinate that's odd. So you start odd, and this one's odd, oh, the one over there would be odd. So those all turn right. And then this way is even, you know, so you're all going to turn left. So if it's not equal to 0, it's odd, so turn the turtle right. And then I think this is a one-line if statement. So if direction is not equal to 0, then turtle turn right. Yeah. Else, if dir is equal to 0, then turtle turn left. And then it ends in the same line. So this is a one-line if statement that I did. I didn't space it out like this. So then it's going to check to see, okay, I'm at the wall here, I need to turn right or left and go this way. Let's see if there's a light here, because now it's not up against the wall. So it detects, runs through the thing. If it sees something, it digs, light equals true. I also added the attack sequence here so that if something got in its way, it won't hinder it or mess up its coordinates at all. And then it runs again and says if light is equal to true, then replace the light. What is this? If the error is not equal to 0, then turn right. Oh, and this here is the second turn. So essentially, what's gonna be happening is you're gonna get to the end, so it needs to turn right or left. If it's an odd number like this, it's gonna turn right. Right? Good. Okay. So then it's going to. Oh, and I forgot to mention one key thing here is if forward equals true, then it automatically moves and returns a Boolean value. So by calling while turtle.forward equals false, if it's false, he didn't go anywhere. So the loop keeps going. But if it's true, the loop closes because it's not equaling its condition, but it also means that it moved. Okay, so it's going to check, can I move forward? And if it can move forward, it's just going to do it. And then it's going to tell you, hey, I did it by returning true. So if it can't, it's still where it was and it returns a false. But if it returns true, then it did move. So that's you don't have to call forward again down here. So in this sequence, as long as there's nothing in front of it, it moved forward. Okay. So now it's going to use the same direction as here. So this is a key thing too, because you don't want to change it. You don't want to change it just yet, because if you updated X and then called it to turn, it's going to turn the wrong way. So what's going to happen is it's going to hit here. It's going to say X is an odd number, so I'm going to turn right. Can I move forward? Okay, I moved forward. And X hasn't updated yet, so it doesn't see it as a 2. It still sees it as 1. So now I'm going to check, is it, you know, odd or even? Okay, it's odd still, because I haven't updated. So now turn right again. And now this will keep your grid smooth, and then when it gets here, now it sees X as 2, because by this block here, it's going to have updated the loop. Because what's going to happen here is this is the end of the loop, so now you come all the way back up here. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, so now it's going to start this over again. It's going to say X is equal to 2 now. Now let's try Y equals 1 and go for the height again. So what's going to happen is it's going to get here, it's going to move, it's going to turn, but I didn't tell it to move yet. I just told it to turn around. So it's facing this way. Now the loop starts over. Now X equals 2 here and Y equals 1, and it's going to go through its loop. It's going to get here. X is an even number. Turn left. Check for a light. Move forward. Turn around. X equals 3. Now move forward. Okay? So it's kind of complicated. A little more advanced than some of the stuff that I've covered before, but we're getting more complex. This one is actually a bit more complicated than the open wall script that I was going to show you, but my Raph's doing stuff, so I didn't want to bug him or get in his way. So it is a little bit more complicated than than open wall, but if you can get this one, then open wall will be fine for you to understand. And again, if any of you actually want these scripts in a file or something, just let me know, and you know, I can either post them or send them to you or something like that. Just leave me a comment or send me a message or something and say, hey, can I get one of these or get a copy of it or something like that. So yeah, that's the fill floor. It works pretty good. I think I've covered most conditions for it, because if there's something in its way, it kills it. If there's, or tries to, if there's something blocking it, it'll dig it up, move around, put it back. If it runs out of stuff, it'll wait for you to put more stuff in it. The one thing that I haven't put in most of my turtles is fuel checks. The reasoning is because of this down here. Where my power grid is on my solar panels, I have them running down here to the basement also. And I did finally put a Lapotronic charging station that'll do 3 turtles, but I have it hooked up to medium voltage, because be forewarned, if you have not watched my other videos or our other FTB stuff, because I've explained this before, there is a major bug in the Lapotronic chargers right now. Actually, most of, just in general, the charging stations altogether, if you, the standard charging station uses low voltage, so like this, or the copper cable stuff. If you use, or back boxes off of copper cables will work, MFEs going to low voltage, MFSUs going to medium and then low voltage. You could then plug a charge station up to this. Advanced charge stations, Lapotronic or Ultimates, are supposed to increase. Like the Advance is supposed to take medium, Lapo is supposed to take high, and then the Ultimate is supposed to take like the ultra voltage or whatever, something stupid. But there is a major bug in them currently in the Minecraft 8.2.0 mod pack. I don't know if Miscellaneous Peripherals has updated this or not, but as of the Minecraft pack for FTB, there's a major glitch in these to where if you plug the Advanced, the Lapatronic, or the Ultimate into anything higher than medium, even though they're supposed to, the Lapatronic and the Ultimate are supposed to take higher, if you plug them into higher than medium voltage, like just straight into this MFSU, or you take a charge station and plug it into anything higher than low, they do that constant. I have a video of it in our regular FTB series, of it'll just constantly explode. It looks like a creeper going off indefinitely. It'll just and blow stuff up. It damages things around it, catches wood on fire. It's a nightmare. You don't want to do that. So if you have a standard charge station, low voltage. Anything other than that, any other charge stations, the other 3 versions, medium voltage until they get that fixed. So anyways, I do have them set up to my MFSU here, which is getting low. But as you can see, I've got this one at 102,000 fuel already. And this one is at 75,000 fuel, which is the equivalent of, like, I don't know, something stupid. It's like 70 lava buckets or something, I think lava buckets give 10,000 fuel. I'm not positive on that number. It might be 1,000. I think it's 1,000. So that would be like, yeah, it's 1,000. So that would be like 75 lava buckets, and 100 lava buckets. Now, the fuel is movement. As long as they don't move, you can tell them to dig all day long. Like that's what you use for generators. You can just put it here and tell it to loop on a dig indefinitely, and it'll just, you know. But if it moves, then it uses a fuel every time it moves. Turning, digging, placing, all of that doesn't require fuel. Anytime the turtle moves, it requires fuel. So you can do the math on this one's 100,000 blocks that it can move. So it can go and, you know, 100,000 times before it runs out of fuel. And Leo and Raph were my 2 first turtles, and I left them on the chargers for a long time, like overnight a couple times. So these 2 guys, yeah, this one has 1,400,000. So he ain't running out of fuel, like, ever. I'm probably going to have to charge him, like, I don't know, 90 episodes from now. So, because of that, I don't do a lot of fuel checking. I would recommend, I called the shift function in this. I usually call the shift function to make sure I've got blocks, like every time it places or something, I think. Let's see, where's my main loop? Okay, so in here, yeah, so every time it moves a block, it checks for something, but then it also shifts. So it refills this slot every time it places a block, basically. So every single time it rechecks for more stuff. So what you could do is simply put a conditional statement in here to where if empty equals false, and fuel is greater than 5 or something like that. And you could have another sequence here to where else if empty is false, then please refill, else if fuel is less than 5, then please refuel me or something. You know, you could set that up pretty easily. It wouldn't be that complicated. I just don't waste my time with it because my turtles have so much fuel in them because I use just my solar power panels and a charge station instead of like coal or lava that's finite. So because of that, I just let those guys sit on the charger when I'm not using them, and then when I use them, they just have a crap load of fuel. So you'll find, watching my series, most of my scripts, I don't normally do fuel checks, unless it's a specific turtle that I don't put on the charger and I don't have a lot of fuel in him or something. So that's the fill floor function. Next episode, Raph's probably not going to be done by the time I record it, so next episode I'm probably going to work on my sorting system, because I'd really like to get that up and running, but it's going to take a lot. That'll probably be a multi-part series on the sorting system. I'll probably have to do multiple sequences, because that's a big project. It's very complicated. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to make it work, because I really want to do it, and now that I know I can, it's just a matter of numbers and making the turtle work right. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.